Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk About Fatherlessness. I'm excited to have my guest today, my friend, Tina Griffin. It's great to have you with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me. And I'm so proud of you. You're like at the year mark for your podcast or program. I think when you were on my show about what, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'm like, you've got to start a show. I want you for like 52 episodes when you're on our side. So congrats, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't believe it's been a year.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy, but excited to see how God's using it and people are getting informed about fatherlessness. And it's even helping our ministry, just being out there and promoting, spreading awareness, promoting our resources and stuff like that. So it's been really,
Yes.
really good, really good. But I'm excited to have you today. Your organization's doing great work. You're keeping up with all current trends I see on social media. You're updating people, making people mad. You're doing your thing, right? Tell us
Well,
about what you do. Tell us about what you
that's so
Go
funny.
ahead.
Hopefully mad in a good way. I've never had anyone say it like that before, but you're right. There's ruffled feathers usually every time. Usually I get the ruffled feathers first
Yeah.
and our team and like, we gotta do something about this. So uh yeah, but I want to tell you again, very proud of the work you're doing because I can tell you over the last year, if you're pounding the pavement here and pumping out the content that God's given you and your personal horrific now blessing of a story,
Mhm.
there's a lot less kids that are fatherless because you did what God called you to do.
Oh, thank you.
And that's really just unbelievable. So yeah, thank you for having me on the program. I have never really seen the depravity of fatherlessness in America the way you have, but when you came on the show and shed the light, it really had me digging even deeper about
Mm.
our personal mission with pop culture and the influence it has on kids. I grew up on a dairy farm. I went to LA when I was 20, became a believer when I was 16. I remember talking to the Lord. I'm like, I'm willing to take a bullet for the cause. And I really meant it. And now in this day and age, Sean, I'm thinking, am I going to take a bullet for the cause?
It's
We're living
true.
in some dangerous times. But moving to LA and seeing pop culture and now even tying in the wealth of information you're pumping out, LA, Hollywood, the media, TV shows, movies, they glamorize children being disobedient, running and ruling the house, rebelliousness, um, talking back with the parents and at the same time they twist it in a way where it's the lifestyle we should be living and it makes our job as parents even harder, but it also glamorizes the single motherhood lifestyle as well, because usually if the father is in the picture he's looked upon as the drug dealer or he's not present physically or emotionally, or the dad's locked up in prison. It does feed the beast of the problem that you already are striving to resolve and end. And so the media, I think, is a huge problem with promoting an ungodly message on many different levels, not just sex, drugs, and suicide, which is the topics I've been talking about for years. But Sean, also a passionate angle that you've been addressing for years and living yourself and having to realize, which is what fed your whole mission and purpose for your ministry. And with that said, if we had a less fatherless nation, a lot of these issues wouldn't even be
Yeah.
issues. If we had men that stood up and did what they were supposed to do, which you know full well, and be the examples and stop the generational curse, man, we'd have a lot less drugs, alcohol, suicide, and depravity, and Hollywood wouldn't have the business it has.
Yeah.
So I'm very honored to be on your program and to help in any way that I can with your listeners on making sure that we navigate pop culture in a way that honors God, and to also know of the wealth of entertainment that does glorify God in a father established manner where the dad is the leader in the home and he loves the Lord and he's teaching that to his kids. And we can talk about this later more in detail, but we have resources that help parents know what is out there that their kids should be watching and will want to watch to help combat the nasty satanic agenda, which is to destroy our family, especially through pop culture and our current public education system.
That's so good. And so your counterculture mom is really your tagline. It's your ministry, it's your organization, your ministry, what you guys do. So and I think it's a great resource even for single moms that watch this to let them know that there's a resource out there to help them understand what their kids are watching, what their kids are seeing, and exposing them to that. So counterculture mom is your organization. Tell us a little more about that.
Yes, well, Counterculture Mom, it was Tina Marie Live up until I got married and had 4 kids in 4 years. And when I became mom, I remember one of my friends is like, "Man," and I'm telling her it's about good probably 15 years ago, 14 years ago. I'm like, "I've got." Well, no, it wasn't even that long. It was 10 years ago because I had the 4 kids in a row, and I'm like, "I'm just not Tina Marie Live anymore." I see this completely different as a massive attack on our kids. Personally, now having 4 kids, where I was so fed up and was seeing what I saw in pop culture. And you think it can't get any worse. I mean, I was living in LA for a decade, did film and TV, Miss America pageants, uh, Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, Lizzie McGuire. I mean, a lot of Disney TV shows,
I saw 90210.
90210,
I was
all
a
that.
big nine as a kid. I watched 90210. My grandparents and we watched 90210 like every week.
I know. I did
Dylan was
too.
my favorite.
That's so funny. I know, me too. It's so weird. And working on that set, you're like, what? You guys are shorter than me? Because these actors really are like a foot shorter than everybody else. It's really, really funny.
Wow.
But watching those programs, what really fed my desire to go out there was actually when I read a story about Jason Priestley wrapping his car around a tree, going 83 miles an hour, something like that, being drunk and plastered in the Hollywood Hills. I was 16 years old on the dairy farm reading the story, maybe 15. I remember telling my mom, I want to go out there and witness to these celebrities. They think that drugs and alcohol is the way to go. And yet he almost died. I mean, and I'm thinking, I wonder what kind of pressure these people are under. Really, honestly, talking about 90210, that story started feeding my idea that I know was God birthed on getting out to LA, working in film and TV firsthand, and witnessing to celebrities. And that's what I did for a good decade. Wore abstinence t-shirts on set, Sean. And people are like, abstinence. It said Tina does abstinence, is what it said on there. It was a Napoleon Dynamite. That movie came out, and the
Yeah.
llama's name was Tina, and I did a spinoff of that. Well, there are a bunch of crew and cameramen and actors saying abstinence, like, well, you don't drink in LA. I'm like, yeah, no drinking, no sex. What, a virgin in the Hollywood Hills? And they would laugh, and not in a bad way, but we'd have great conversation. I'm like, I'm not the only one. There's a big posse. Come to church on Sunday. You'll meet them all.
Hmm.
Um, and people did. People would show up at church. It's crazy. One guy from Young and the Restless got saved. I'm trying to think what the actor's name was, but great guy, like younger than me when I was out there
Wow.
in my early 20s. So you never know what God can do. And that Jason Priestley story got me out to LA and gave me a chance to see firsthand, talking to these celebrities, on the pressure that was so great, Sean. Like, I was at first analyzing pop culture, working on set myself, thinking I'm never going to take a role that they'll want me to be doing a nudity role or even bikini. Like, I felt weird wearing that and wouldn't wear that just because I don't want to. Miller Lite was going to pay me $25,000 to do a commercial on the beach in my bikini at 21, 22 years old. Now, I know many friends or even chicks would line up at the chance to do that. I just had a conviction where, yes, I need the cash, but I don't want to promote Miller Lite and the very next day speak at a school assembly telling kids not to drink and drive.
Yeah.
And there was even a chick that looked like me that did a vodka ad and had a huge poster on the side. I mean, a huge billboard on the side of this building on Hollywood Boulevard. And I had kids at a school assembly say, well, you look like that chick that's on that vodka ad. I'm like, it's
Hmm.
not me. So it's like people do. I want to be who I am and not be a hypocritical celeb that is promoting drinking and driving and then 2 days later talking about the fact that they're a great dad, because I saw that firsthand. Many celebrities shelter their kids from the crap that they actually put out in movies, TV shows, all of that. I also saw a lot of actors that struggle with those very same addictions. Matthew Perry being a big one. I mean, and he just passed away, and it rips my
Yeah.
heart out because I wanted him in our program. But he got over the addiction and opened up his multi-million-dollar Malibu mansion to then help other people struggling with drinking. That's just phenomenal.
Hmm.
Phenomenal. He's like a hero to me. But seeing that firsthand, Sean, and seeing how Hollywood was and still is destroying our very family structure. And millions of kids are being influenced by Ariana Grande today and all of these horrific movies and TV shows. I mean, for the last decade, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is something I talk about when I speak at live school presentations and cruises and adult conferences. Is they're promoting witchcraft, and they bring real witches on set to literally tell the
Yeah.
actors exactly how to carry out the occult. And it's demonic. And these portals are being opened every time a kid clicks on the TV, watches Netflix, and is allowing these demonic forces into their heart, their home, their brain. And I think it's so critical that parents know there are massive resources. We have an app, the Counterculture Mom app, that is phenomenal. It's $5 a month, $4.99, or $50 for the whole year. Get 2 months free. Download it. Thousands of parents have it. They absolutely love it. We have a team of 20 people that pump out content every single day, either through our TV show, which can be found on counterculturemom.com. Critical topics that are today that parents need to be aware of, but very solution driven. And parents are on fire, a good fire, when they watch our stuff and download our app, because we want the power back in the parents' hands, not the kids' suicide attempts or dying or drug overdoses or having premarital sex, or even being influenced by negative, harmful lyrics and songs where parents are up in arms because they have no clue why their kids are depressed and suicidal. We want to stop the garbage from even entering the heart and the home. Just like you. That's why I love what you guys do. That's what we're after, is to give resources so parents don't feel overwhelmed. And they won't when they grab our app and jump on our program.
That's so good. And you mentioned Matthew Perry. I have his book here. I actually got it
Oh,
because of his fatherless story and him growing up fatherless. And he says, and he even blames his parents for his alcoholism. And so I wonder, in Hollywood, you in Hollywood, and
wow.
obviously we could talk about the exit. You left Hollywood, but when you were in Hollywood, what kind of families were a lot of these people coming from that you were working with? Were they coming from a variety of homes, or were there some that were like Matthew Perry, where they came from broken homes and they were trying to find happiness, or what did you see?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. Never asked that question before in my life. I don't want to assume, but thinking back to the conversations I've had with celebs, and I've had a lot of celebs or want to be famous people that I would meet at all these auditions, and a lot of them look like me. We need 5'9", blonde, 120, 130 pounds, come to this audition where there's like 100 of us that look like, all the same. A lot of people had the same story: broken families, wanting to do something with their lives, trying to find their identity in what they did, not who Christ called them to be. Many of them not believers. There were not many Christians in LA when I was there. Did I go to some fantastic churches? I was actually involved in two heavily, yes. And there were a lot of great Christian actors there, because primarily 90% of Hollywood that I was around were actors or trying to break into the business, but they still knew how to act. They went to acting class, they went to auditions. Some became famous, some didn't. And then again, famous, I look back, I could have became famous, but I would have been having footage that God would not have approved of, that would have caused my dad to have a heart attack. It seems like a lot of the people that became famous had to sell their soul to get there,
Yeah,
literally. But a lot of broken families, so true. And a lot of people, especially young women, thinking that they would, that the attention they would get from the roles they would get, the guys they would date, the body parts they would flash at dance clubs and everywhere else, even on movie sets, would fulfill the need to feel loved, accepted, cherished, cared for, wanted. They fit in finally. Not all, but a lot. I did not go out there for that. So it's a wild question for me, because I was the oddball, became a believer at 16, and I wanted to go out to witness to celebrities or people trying to break into the business for this very reason, that their identity is not the roles they have on their resume that they would later regret, but that if God called them to go out to film and TV, which he did for me and several of my dear close friends, do that, but honor God. Don't sell your soul in order to get ahead in the industry, because you literally will be like everybody else who does that, which is lost, broken, or dead many commit suicide. Joshua Broom is on our speaking team, for example. We have a pop culture purge tour that we're doing around the US. There's 20 some speakers on that tour, all of that at counterculturemom.com. Check out the website. We go all over the place. Joshua Broom joined our team, and he was in the porn industry in Hollywood same year as I was there. Did not know him at the time, was in it for 6 years. He lost 30 of his guy friends to suicide, Sean.
Yeah. Wow.
30 in a 6-year period because they all regretted doing the porn. But he gives a glimpse to these kids, and we travel and speak, that the last thing you want to do is be addicted to pornography. And this is how destructive it is. In fact, it took a lot of my friends' lives. He's now a pastor today, of course, left that industry. He made a lot of cash at it, but he was empty
Yeah.
inside the entire time he did it.
Wow. And you speaking about porn, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned that on your show or not, but my dad was heavily involved in the adult film industry. Did I
Oh
share that?
my gosh. No, you did not.
Yeah, he was actually in films. He were well, and it was almost like how he coped with part of his fatherless story, because he grew up fatherless. His dad died when he was 13, and then he worked in adult film theaters in Las Vegas, and then that's where he grew up, and then he was actually in films, and he was quoted. He was told somebody before he was with over 1,000 women. None of it ever brought happiness, and so it's just interesting you share that, because none of this stuff brings happiness. But there's this dark side of Hollywood too, besides, the porn industry and stuff like that, where, these individuals are going out to Hollywood. They're trying to find this hope. They're trying to find, fame and fortune and all this stuff, but then they get taken advantage of. Did you see that? Those
Yes.
things, a lot of those things happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to really have God and guts to stand up for it. I mean, within the first year that I was out, you have the best questions. First year that I was out there, I got this job to work on Austin Power, the Spy Who Shagged Me. And that was the
Mhm.
movie that was on. Now, if people watch it, they'll see me. I'm in this club scene, fully clothed, but I'm in this gold bodysuit, long eyelashes, long blonde hair. Um, and I tried to put on the pounds. Literally, I wasn't anorexic, but I looked it. I was super thin, but I ate like 50 pounds of food a day. I just couldn't put the weight on. But I'm in a scene, and they have me for a couple days, and then they put the pressure on me to wear this short black vinyl mini skirt. I'm like, why even ask me to put the skirt on? I was thinking in my brain, it's not even going to cover my underwear. And I was in the wardrobe, behind the door, in the wardrobe changing station, and I'm thinking, what am I going to tell him? I'm going to get fired. My agent's going to drop me. I'm thinking all the worst case scenario. When I first moved out there, I didn't know how to stand up for myself as much. The pressure was on. I just felt the Holy Spirit saying, you know that you can't do this role. You know you can't wear that skirt. I'll guide you. You're going to be canned. You're going to be fired from set, but just be prepared for it. Be prepared for it. I will bless you because of it. I've got you. And I just felt like it was a test.
Mm.
But I knew that God had me. Sure enough, I whipped it over the wardrobe deal. The lady's knocking on, pounding actually on the door, thinking, you almost done in there. And I'm like, I can't wear this skirt. She goes, you better put the skirt on. We hired you. And I'm like, if I put it on, I don't even feel comfortable in it. Like I can't wear it. And she goes, you don't put it on. You're never going to work for us again. Then I said, I guess I won't be working for you again. And so I gave her the skirt. I walked off the set. I was driving my car off the lot. Like it was yesterday. It's so crazy. And I felt the Holy Spirit, like numbness, go over my body. And God's like, you did the right thing.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
the pressure was so great, Sean. I could give you 10 more stories of me personally. I have a lot of other friends, same situation, that we even several times I would try to go to the audition with the graphic, gross words, the sides that they want me to read for the audition. And I'd be like, I can totally do this role, but can I read it the way I want to read it?
Mm.
And I didn't book many of those roles by changing those words because they wanted the graphic garbage in it, but I still went. And then I would have a conversation with the casting director saying, you guys could pump out some killer content. A lot more families are going to like, a lot more kids are not going to die or get some bad messages from this, where you're actually pumping out positive in America, leaving a positive legacy. If you would change the words of this character, like I would still go to try to get conversation started. I don't even know how much that helped or not, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to at least witness to somebody somewhere, not knowing what kind of seed I was going to plant. But Sean, it was a lot of pressure, yet
Sure.
I would do it all over again. I just got chills saying that out loud. Anyone out there listening right now, if you feel that, and you believe that God is calling you to go to Hollywood, We need Christians in Hollywood, massive, desperately. Be prayed up, be in the word every day. Find a great Bible believing church in LA. There's a lot. The Oasis is one of them that I went to. Bel Air Presbyterian, another one that I went to. Fantastic churches, on fire messages. They don't waver. They're not woke. And I'm telling you, we need people out there making a difference, wearing the Christian t-shirts on set, carrying the Bible to set. I remember every day taking the Bible to set, witnessing to other actors, and God will open the doors to the right roles for you to get. Sean, I was known as the Christian chick, the farm girl from Wisconsin, Christian chick. People would call me and say, "We got this role for you. Are you that Christian chick that did that other role from blah, blah, blah?" I'm like, "Yep, good. We got a role for you." They were few and far between, but they thought of me when those type of roles came up. So we need people out there, Sean, and we need fatherlessness to be dissolved. We need fathers to step up in the homes and be the men that God called them to be. And there's a lot of kids right now that are being raised without fathers. So if you're a father listening, or if you're married to an amazing man, adopt, as in like take under your wing the kids across the street that might not have a father. And you might literally be saving a life that you never knew that you were saving by one fantastic 30-minute conversation that
Yeah.
breathes life into the kids that have no dad.
Well, it got to the point then that you exited Hollywood. You right? That's what you call it. And what pushed you finally? Where you're like, I'm done. I want to just go and focus on helping people. When was that? How long were you in Hollywood? And then
About a decade into it. And honestly, the whole time I was out in Hollywood, that's funny. Um, Hollywood, I knew I was helping people the whole time. It just morphed into something different that I fell in love with more than the business of Hollywood. But I loved being out in LA for the decade because 4 years into it, I did the Miss America pageant and I came in third place. I never did pageants before that. It was hard for me to even walk in high heels. I came from a farm. I was milking cows, baling hay, and picking rocks. So, I mean, to be in LA to learn how to walk in high heels, I was not the pageant chick, but I played drums. I think I placed first with the drumming, which was crazy, but I had to pick up a talent that was not singing or piano because even though I did both, I didn't excel at it. I wanted something different, unique. Um, and I did that for my talent, but my whole message, because the Miss America pageant, the biggest amount of points you get as a contestant is what's your platform? What's your mission if you win? And mine was abstinence education. And so having the abstinence education background and researching that for a good 2-year period and the lack of abstinence that was promoted in film and TV and the sex driven industry, I did one of the pageants. Someone in the pageant connected me with a speaking team that was called True Lies over 20 years ago. And he said, I called Phil Chalmers. He was the guy in charge of that. And he said, you have 48 hours to send me a demo video, this 20-page application, and a deposit for this 3-day training that will be in a month. Good luck. I'll be praying for you. And up until that time, Sean, I was praying for a good year or two. Lord, I want to talk about the topics that I've been seeing in Hollywood for years. I am ready to share about this. And I would share Friday nights at the youth, a group over at the church at Oasis Christian Center. I was there for a while, but I wanted to have a bigger impact on millions of teens, even though I loved that group of kids I had at that church. So I prayed. I remember sitting down on my bed in LA in my apartment, and I prayed, and the prayer lasted 3 minutes. God's like, you've been praying about this. Time is now. I didn't know what I was doing, Sean. I put the camera in front of my face. I shared my heart and passion about the youth in America, what I was seeing firsthand living in LA. And today's show is actually bringing a lot of that to life. Like I'm feeling alive again with this Hollywood conversation because a lot of times this stuff gets buried in my body and my brain. So you're bringing the passion back out. So I sent my tape in, sent the deposit, and I will tell you that I even remember the time where when I had to send a deposit in and then I had to buy a projector, buy my laptop, I get all my tools because he said, yep, you're accepted, you're coming. Buy my flight. I literally did not have enough money for all those things. I wasn't in debt, but I didn't have enough money for all that. It was like $10,000. And I remember praying on Sunday in church. And the Lord's like, you did get some cash in. Make sure you don't skip your tithe. So I tithed and I'm like, Lord, I think it was like $277. It was something weird. And I paid that and I went back home, and Monday I crumbled to the ground outside of my apartment building because like 7 or 8 checks came in the mail, Sean, of jobs that I wasn't paid for that I was due over a 2-year period. Acting jobs, speaking, trade show stuff. And I had my cash that I needed to do the speaking thing. And God's like, this, I just wanted to see if you trust me, if you rely on me. So people tuning in, you guys, he will provide the funds, the people, the mission. He just wants you to take that step first to start moving forward. And then he'll say, okay, then I got someone that's serious. And now it's been 25 years of speaking. And so I was out there for a good 6-year period, acting and flying all over the globe, really speaking, doing this Hollywood exposed message all about film and TV and what they're promoting, why Satan's agenda, what it is what it is, and then giving parents and teens a ton of resources and positive TV shows and movies. And I'm still doing that today. It's been almost 25 years. Um, Loving every minute. And I'm even doing a music festival coming up in a month here in Iowa. We are regaining the ground of where the largest gathering ever in Iowa, where this festival is taking place, was the KKK years ago, 25,000 people. This guy said, we're gaining the ground back for God. So to be a part of Rise Fest, to speak to these teens and parents attending, this is what my heart, and that's what I was called to do, just like you're called to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
But people tuning in right now, if I can just tell you, to wrap up your question, after a decade of that, I left because I was speaking so much, Sean, around the globe that I got signed by Premier Speakers Bureau out of Nashville, moved to Nashville, and I started doing a lot of openings, speaking with bands at festivals and conferences and all of that, that it just made sense to move here where God was sending me out from even more often than LA. So would I do a Christian film today? Absolutely. I'd get right back in the mix. But anyone listening, the time is so short. It is so short. I really believe Christ's coming back in our time. I really do. When I was 10, he said I wouldn't have a funeral, and I wasn't going to die. And I wasn't saved, Sean, until I was 16. So to hear that as a kid and remember that, chills just go down my spine when I see the headline news today lining up with what's going to happen before Christ's return. There's no time to waste. Grab a hold of the calling God's called you to do. Don't focus on the big American dream, because that is not what God wants us to do. The big American dream he wants us for is to be used by him every day to share our testimony, our hard knocks life of the past, and share it with the masses to help other people that are currently in bondage and help them see their dreams. And that is what our life is meant to be, where if I could skip sleep because I love my job so much with the TV show, the speaking, all of it, I would skip sleep, Sean. And I know you would too. I know you would.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's, you can tell you're called to this. And I love what you do. I love the organization you have and everything you're about. I think it's great. You're just exposed. And earlier I said about making people mad because you're exposing truth and you're sharing truth. You're letting people know what's going on. I know you've been canceled and things that have happened to you because you're not afraid to just tell the truth about what's going on in Hollywood. Now, speaking to some of the single moms that listen to this, what would you say to them with their kids to protect their kids from Hollywood and the different things? Can you share more about that to help single moms understand what the importance of protecting their children is? I'm sure they know that some, but just share some of their things you have.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the number one thing, just because we have it and I keep close eye on it. And there are sources I looked at growing up as a teenager and in my 20s that I trust, that some of them now have lowered their standards, sad to say, and some weren't Christian, but lowered their standards on what they think is okay for a 10-year-old to watch or even a teenager, that I would never want my kids to watch. So with that said, I love our Counterculture Mom app because it's not to throw our kids in a bubble and not prepare them for the future. It's actually the exact opposite. There are entertainment, film, TV, video games, movies, all of that we promote in our app that might have a couple scenes that we'll tell parents to watch out for, but they're not graphic in nature. It's going to give a kid a nightmare. But it does cause, we have questions at the end. It causes conversations to happen. So if you guys watch this movie together, here's some great questions to talk to your kid about after you guys watch this movie. What could have been done different? How could they have handled that situation differently? Or if a girl was contemplating an abortion in the movie, okay, but if she decided to choose life, awesome. Let's talk about the fact that she almost chose abortion. And talk about the fact that when does life begin? At conception. So our app has these pop culture alerts, Sean, that are fantastic, where we are alerting parents ahead of time. Here's a video game coming out next month. Be on the lookout. Your kids might be asking for it. It actually is fantastic. It is something you can play with your kids. You can have game nights, have a bunch of kids over for it. There's one song that's questionable, but talk to your kids. There's ways to skip the song. There's a chat feature with it. Ditch the chat feature. Here's how to do it. Here's why you want to ditch the chat feature. Or there might be features in the video game where you can chat with your friends, but don't allow any strangers in the mix if you don't know who they are. So just ways for parents to be quickly read it. They know what it's rated. They know where they can get it. Or if it's something they definitely don't want to get at all, we give them bullet points why. And then we even embed, there's 6 people that run that app. A guy, Jay, who has 2 teen girls, a fantastic couple teens actually. And he has 5 writers underneath him that write these alerts every week. They have 3 or 4 alerts. So he has the eyes of a parent. We watch the content, try the content we're either promoting or dissing. And then we even embed episodes of what I do with these guests on the show every week. We have 4 guests that come on for different themes each week. We did sextortion in the early January. We did prayer. We did GMO and glyphosate in foods this week. We did obesity last week. MK Ultra, cyberbullying, bullying. We have fatherlessness when you came on. So every week a different topic. And then we take those episodes and we even put them within the alerts on our app so people can watch a longer episode if it pertains to their family. We send out notifications. We have at least 40 featured educators in our app. So Ken Ham does a great job about creationism and blast evolutionism. So evolution. So we have him in our app. We need to get you in our app. Absolutely.
Yeah,
we need to
let's
get
do
you in
it.
our app. So Mama Bear Apologetics is in our app. A lot of different great resources. It's a one-stop shop, and we have 80 affiliates where you can get free stuff or dirt cheap discounts on a plethora of resources for your family to protect your kids, or just great positive content for free that's not cheesy. Like when I grew up as a kid, it is fantastic, educational, or even just fun comedy, TV shows, TV series, movies, whatever, that families can watch together and know that they're not going to have nightmares or regret seeing a scene that was too late to flick the channels. So
Yeah.
it's a great app. That is my number one resource besides going to our website, counterculturemom.com. It's loaded. It's very easy to navigate, and people will absolutely love it. So counterculturemom.com, watch our shows every week. It's out on 40 platforms. Great content for families.
It's so important too, because I mean, even I mentioned I love 90210 when I was a kid, but that was not a good show for me to be watching as a kid. You know what I mean?
I know.
I lived with my grandparents, and but the whole show was, I mean, it was about all worldly
Teen
things. You know, it's
stuff.
just,
It was.
oh, it was
But
terrible.
looking back, Sean, not to justify the actions in it, but that now pales in
Ah,
comparison to the
oh
junk
yeah,
that they're watching now.
yes,
It blows
so
my
true.
mind. At least back then, when you had episodes where someone did drinking and driving, they then talked about shouldn't have done that. You
Yeah.
know, at least they talked about the consequences. And that's the big problem we have today
Mhm.
is they glamorize these dangerous behaviors without showing the consequences. And I'm like, I know those 5 celebrities in that show. They don't even let their kids drink and drive or watch their own shows.
Yeah.
So
I'm
it's
still
that,
traumatized by Dylan getting robbed at gunpoint
that
in his
so,
Porsche. I'm just
oh,
kidding. I'm just
oh my gosh.
that affected me as a child. And then Will Smith on Fresh Prince getting robbed at the ATM. I mean, those are big deals. But
You know, and at the same time, those scenes now, like back then, would
oh,
make us like, are we okay? I don't want to walk in a dark alley at night. You
yeah.
know, it did make us think twice.
Now it's like, oh, that's just a regular show. We have about a minute left. We got to wrap up. But
Oh,
I appreciate what you do with this app and everything, because speaking about 90210, me watching that, it helps moms and different people, grandparents raising grandkids, to know what their kids should watch. And so I think I'm going to encourage our listeners to check out that app, check out Tina's stuff. Share just real quick as we wrap up where else they can find your resources. You on social media,
Yes.
those different platforms.
Honestly, the easiest place to go to is counterculturemom.com. And it's very easy to navigate. Brand new website. I love it. You can get our show on there. You can watch it. You can subscribe to our podcast. You can subscribe to our app. You can watch the recent episodes. You can go to our plethora of a wide variety of Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else. I'm shocked we're still on half of these platforms for all these social media because we're blasting the very platforms that are, promoting this crap to our kids. But counterculturemom.com, everything's there at your fingertips. Email us, let us know who you want in the program. If you get a story to share, email us right through the website, show@counterculturemom.com, and we'll get you on our program and interview you as well with your story.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode of Let's Talk About Fatherlessness. We want to now challenge you to take the next step by either starting a single mom community group in your church or with your ministry, or by joining our network of God is My Dad churches and ministries. Isn't it a great experience to be able to start a single mom community group?
Yeah, and it's just, if you talk to single moms, a lot of times what they'll tell you is the one thing they're lacking is that community, just a group that they can go in and they know there's no judgment. You know, everyone may not have the same situation. Everyone doesn't know what they're going through, but they can go in and they know there's no judgment. And it takes that kind of that restriction and that wall down for them so that they can share and then that they can grow in Christ.
And our single mom community groups are a wonderful ministry. If your church can start one, we'd love to have you. We can help you get set up. We have the curriculum and all the resources you need. If you can't start one, we'd love to have you start by joining our network of churches and ministries, our God is My Dad network of churches and ministries, where you can get your church or your ministry on our map, and people can find you and find your ministry in your church so that they can get plugged into your church or ministry locally. So check that out. You can find all these resources at lifefactors.org. We have books, we have all kinds of content on there at lifefactors.org. Check it out today.